Coming from a home where conflict was a weekly occurrence at best, I determined early in my life that I didn't much care for conflict. I would choose my words and my actions based on how I wanted others to react to me and feel about me when I was a child. Aggressiveness, well, it was kind of common behavior for me. My mother's tone alone could reduce me to tears. However, I came to learn that seeking harmony at all costs is not necessarily productive or good, especially when people hold back their own opinions and honest concerns. The best decisions are those that come from all members of a team where they're sharing their issues and questions and concerns and are openly, without any fear of recrimination, humiliation, or retaliation, talking to you. If the members of the team are concerned that their honest comments may throw off balance the ease that they've established by holding back, then everybody's going to hold back. It's the lack of conflict then that becomes the problem. Although frustration may surface as subtle comments, more often than not, team members will just bottle it up and they're going to carry it around with them. Conflict is the second dysfunction of a team to overcome through training. We must learn the skills necessary to engage in passionate, unfiltered debate about how to solve and use a team approach to solving our own problems. The second team dysfunction is a fear of conflict among team members. However, all significant relationships require productive conflict to grow and be beneficial to the organization. Unfortunately, I observed in my government and corporate careers that many leaders and managers consider conflict to be totally off limits, unacceptable, even taboo in many situations, especially in the workplace. Well, the higher I climbed in the corporate world, the more I found people spending excessive amounts of time and energy trying to avoid the kind of passionate debates that are truly essential to great teams in the decision-making process. Teams that trust one another are not afraid to engage in passionate dialogue around issues and decisions that are critical to the organization's success. The sole purpose of engaging in productive and constructive conflict is to produce the best possible solution in the shortest amount of time. Teams that demonstrate this sort of teamwork typically discuss and resolve issues more quickly and thoroughly than others, and they emerge from these discussions with no lingering feelings or collateral damage, but with an eagerness and even a readiness to take on the more important issues next time. Just as we have discussed in the collaborative informed consent process, when people are informed, engaged, and educated and have the opportunity to have their issues raised and their questions answered, the more buy-in to a decision they will have. Better choices are the result of constructively facilitated conflict. Teams that fear conflict have very boring and unproductive meetings. They create environments where back-channel politics and personal attacks thrive, and they ignore controversial topics that are critical to team success. Fearful teams will not tap into the opinions and the perspectives of their teammates, and they're going to waste time and energy with political posturing and managing their own interpersonal risk. On the other hand, teams that engage in conflict have interesting and productive meetings. They discover and use ideas of all the teammates. They solve problems quicker. They minimize the office politics, and they're not afraid to raise and discuss critical topics. Based on work and research associated with the 5 dysfunctions of a team, there are several techniques to help a team understand how to work with conflict. They include mining, which is the practice of allowing someone on the team to mine or force buried disagreements to light to work through them. There's real-time permission. That's where it's a quick reminder from the team leader, when necessary, that the conflict or healthy debate is essential and will bring about the results that are needed. For example, in the heat of the discussion, there's a tendency for some people to retreat from the conversation as they get uncomfortable with the level of disharmony. A practical solution is to empower all team members to coach one another, not to withdraw from the healthy debate, but by interrupting them to remind them that what they are doing is necessary to give the participants the confidence to continue. It's all right to take a break from the action and encourage engagement on the issues, that the problem gets resolved for the betterment of the entire team and the organization. And we suggest that you turn complaints into requests. Often when we approach our colleagues about an issue, we focus heavily on what we don't want. For instance, I can't stand it when you throw a customer service issue at me and expect me to support it without the proper understanding what the issue is. Instead, try turning the negative language into positive language by making a request. If your service writers or salespeople throw stuff over the wall to you and the operations team, you could say, could you give me a heads up next time as much in advance as possible? I want to be sure that we can support you. Now, it's a small nuance. However, the tone and the tenor of handling these types of conflicts will go a long way to reduce frustrations, help stop the blame game, and help you and your team have productive conflict. Finally, organizations may want to use the TKI. That's the Thomas Kilmann Conflict Instrument. The instrument's a professional tool. It's used to identify how each team member approaches conflict, and the tool will help you and me learn how to have healthy debate with one another based upon our personality styles and how you might choose to deal with conflict. So let's take a moment. Close your eyes and play back your last daily stand-up meeting. Were there any tensions, debates, or disagreements of importance? And how were those handled? Were the problems dealt with head on, or did you avoid them or even postpone discussing them to a later time? Well, congratulations if you didn't retreat from healthy debate and conversation and that it was productive. However, if that wasn't the case, ask yourself, how can your team begin to put the critical topics on the table for discussion without wasting time? And how can you turn negative language into positive language? Leadership and conflict go hand in hand, folks. Leadership's a full contact sport. And if you can't or won't address conflict in a healthy, productive fashion, you shouldn't be in a leadership role. Don't fear conflict. Embrace it. It's your job as a leader. While you can try and avoid conflict, a very bad idea, you can't escape conflict. The fact of the matter is, conflict in the workplace is unavoidable. Conflict will find you whether you go looking for it or not. And the ability to recognize conflict, understand the nature of that conflict, and be able to bring swift and just resolution to it will serve you well as a leader. It will help you and your team and organization to be successful and productive. Now, on our next video, we'll discuss the third dysfunction of a team, known as the lack of commitment.